last session for today focuses on the famous saying that I really adore: practice what you preach, because the topic of the session is transforming conversation into action. And it will feature the following panelists: Oliver Bolton, an advocate for sustainable consumer choices; Ladeja Godina Kosir, a leader in circular economy innovation; and Thomas Kolster, a pioneer in sustainable marketing and communication. And, of course, our moderator, Ciprian Stanescu. Welcome.
Now, thank you so much for staying. It's late, I know, but we're very lucky and happy to have you with us. And I think all of us would like to do what Thomas just did, right? It's real grass. Now, you will not be able to do that, especially for the people that are online. I'm very, very happy to announce that we have now a combined, for both stages, global audience of 1,136 people, or views, or viewers, or whatever. So it's very nice to have, and a lot of comments. Nobody was naked, no. Yeah, can we get the mic on for Thomas, please? Now, this is the simplest, easiest panel, which says, how do we go from talking to doing, basically? What are some of the things that were missing in doing that? I'm going to start with Ladeja. When it comes to circular economy, it sounds simple, and sometimes it is. But it's not yet that prevalent. It's not that present if we just look at Europe. So how can we take more, or how can we accelerate circularity across more industries in Europe?
Yeah, I said, does it work?
No.
No, so that is, we have to wait.
But sometimes we do have to wait.
Okay, yeah. So that is the first rule. Be patient, be persistent, and repeat, repeat, repeat. That is boring, because I'm impatient, I don't want to repeat, I'm not persistent, so I have to learn that by myself first. So you asked about that, yeah, as I mentioned already, and I would like to repeat this now, that maybe sometimes we are already implementing circular economy principles, but we are just not calling that circular economy, or we are not even aware of that. Because there is a big difference between that, where we have circular economy out of the choice, and where we have it out of the need. So if we take Global South, and we like to say this is less developed world, circular economy is very often present out of the need. So how the boys play football, they create a ball out of the waste, right? Mm-hmm. How they're treating water very carefully, because they have to do an extra mile to get drinking water. So all these are principles of circular economy, but they are not listed as something super fancy and developed. While in, let's say, Global North, when we are very spoiled, we are now redefining our economies in the way of circularity and getting, again, the awareness of the value of everything. So of the materials, of the energy, of human resources, of fresh air, and all that. So that is maybe just a little bit of food for thought, because I know that we are all tired now, and maybe simple messages can help at this point.
Nobody's tired. Is there anyone tired? No? We have some questions that we got on Slido and online for all of you. There's too many to go through all of them, but we'll try to answer all of the questions and send to you, and in the next weeks to get some answers from you to put on the website. There's a question for Thomas here. With so much advertising for social change and disinformation about issues related to climate change, how can a company or organization stand out? Any tips or tricks?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for staying around, especially in such a lovely, warm summer day in Bucharest. Stand out. One of the things I realized from the first book about a decade ago to today was that a decade ago it was very, very easy to stand around if you spoke for social issues, environmental issues, because you were one of few voices. And obviously at that time we saw brands like Dove and other mainstream brands sort of rise to prominence. I think the challenge today is much more difficult. Because as a consumer, you can feel confused because every sort of brand is pitching itself as some sort of Mother Teresa and Gandhi when you go into the supermarket. And so one of the things I asked myself with the second book was who then to trust, who is authentic, and how I sort of value that and look at that is the brands, the companies who help us create change, who enable change, are the ones who I can trust, because you take those words and turn them into something that I actionable can feel. And so I think companies have to move away from talking at us to understanding how they enable change in our lives. And I think that's a sort of little metric of authenticity for me, at least.
We also, I think a lot of us saw, not all of us, a recent video by a phone company, I will not name the name, about Mother Earth. At the same time, this is a company that I might have something like that.
Apple.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Is as a trusted brand. I mean, it's an empire to some extent. But at the same time, it faces challenges, lawsuits, and fines of billions and billions upon billions of pounds, dollars, and other currencies for not being, let's call it, ESG compliant, for not making sure that who makes the phone or elements of the phone are so. But at the same time, it doesn't feel that the trust has been broken. Nothing really has an impact besides the fines. Why do you think that happens? I'm not saying that we should, but why is it happening?
I think we tend to see with brands that are very strong. It's kind of like relationships. Brands are very, very simple. Branding is about relationship. And so if you have a very good friend who does something bad, you're in a better position to forgive them. And we see that with very loved brands. We saw Volkswagen, incredibly enough, after Dieselgate. 1 year after, sales were back on track because it was a loved brand. And I think we see the same with Apple. People forgive Apple. I absolutely hated that commercial when it came out. I didn't like the way they spoke about carbon neutrality. I didn't like the way that they took quite a different approach from what I would have thought Steve Jobs would have done that. And so I didn't really think they lived up to the leadership that we expect from a company like Apple. But people forgive brands that they love, and that's the danger facing most brands who aren't that loved, that when they do those missteps, it can carry quite heavy economic costs.
I'm going to pick on Oliver now, Ollie. And he has a brand called Earthly, Ollie Earthly. How can people love more this brand and support his work? What is it, like a free consultancy advice that you give to Ollie?
I mean, who doesn't love nature? You know, we have nature around us. We only had a very, very short amount of time to catch up, but if you, after what I with the free advice, tell people what you do, I would say that one of the things that I see on the rise right now across the globe is actually this idea about sort of preserving nature, whether that is in your community, whether it's at your little backyard or whatever. So I think actually you have hopefully a prosperous future in front of you in terms of it's much easier to protect this stuff that we love than understanding the invisible effects of carbon emissions.
Now going to Ollie and his work to regenerate 1% or 5%, let's put 5%, it's better.
Yeah, at least 1%.
At least 1% of the planet by 2030.
Yeah.
That is a huge percent. It's really big.
Yeah, I mean, it's ambitious.
Like, what do you need to get that huge ambition rolling? And the previous question that I would ask is, it's a very courageous ambition. Where did you get the courage to do it, and how do you do it?
I think, to answer the second part of your question, I don't think we have any choice but to be bold and brave with our ambitions, given the situation that we're in and the urgency. And, a big part to get to the 1% is originations. That's basically creating new nature-based projects. So that's a real focus for us, helping larger corporates, create these much, much larger multi-year projects. And that will be a key component of getting there. And another big component of that is a fund. So we're planning on launching a fund so we can co-invest in nature restoration and protection alongside some of our bigger corporate customers. And I think the third thing to add is, with the voluntary biodiversity credit that we've developed, this is another avenue to generate funding for projects like rewilding projects, which maybe aren't suitable for carbon finance. So, we're looking at multiple avenues to really get things moving and to accelerate funding to nature protection and restoration to hit that ambitious goal.
Yeah. What can regular people, not just companies, do to support your work, to buy your product?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's recognizing, supporting those companies that, are aware of their impacts on nature and are contributing towards nature protection and restoration. And so I think by switching our spending to these more nature-aligned businesses, I think that can be a really powerful way to contribute on a personal level.
Yeah. Now there's two questions that I wanted to not forget. Technology. There's one connected to technology and how technology is not necessarily a topic that is that present when it comes to sustainability. What are 2-3 types of technology that you think are not used enough when it comes to regeneration, circular economy, storytelling, etc.?
May I spoil the game?
Of course.
Okay, because when you started with the first question and then we came to the other one related to Apple, today we heard the story about Fairphone,
Yeah.
right? So if I can
Please
just
do.
add something, because I think it's really important what we are talking about and to be really sensitive to the messages we deliver. So we are giving a lot of attention to Apple, and it is a huge brand, right? And on the other hand, we have Fairphone, the company that is very circular, because you asked me about that, how to move this circularity forward, and this is high tech, and this is something what we have in our pockets. And I think with brands, it's very important how we resonate with them, how they define our identity, and if I have in my pocket the newest iPhone, that I'm valued as someone, oh, she's great, she's successful, she can afford that. While if I put on the table the Fairphone, the story is different. People would say, oh, this phone is not so sexy, it's not so beautiful maybe, So that's why I think that when we are talking about circular economy, about sustainability, about all this transformation, we should be very sensitive to the values and to the messages that we deliver through the brands we choose. So maybe to give more space to those who are not so recognized but have really good story and good business model behind. But Fairphone will never grow as fast as Apple because this is not part of their strategy. It is not about growth. It is about how to keep that phone for as long as possible. So here is this mindset shift, but also the business model shift. And I would encourage all of us to really give more space in media, on the stage, to the brands that exist, but we do not even know that we have the choice to find them. Sorry.
I love, I just want to applaud that point. I think it's a very lovely point. Every time I see sustainability brand indexes, etc., what we usually see are these big global brands, and I think we tend to forget that the majority of businesses in Europe are small, medium-sized. They're the biggest part of the economy. They're the ones who employ the most people. So I definitely think we should applaud those unsung heroes, and Fairphone is one of them, right? Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
So coming back to the technical question, if I may. I mean, it's not mine even. It's somebody's.
I mean, I'm happy to kick off. I mean, look, for my world, the nature tech movement is incredibly exciting. But for me, it's understanding exactly what is happening with our ecological health around the world. So as satellite technology improves and we have a higher resolution, we'll better see really clear, almost live data on the ground of forest fires, species migrating, of things working and things not working, and we'll be able to take quick, action to fix, or prevent problems happening. So I think technology can really, helping us understand and helping us take positive action towards our planet can be a great driver for that. Yeah.
I think we forget the oldest computer in the world, which is this one up here. I think we a lot of time when it comes to sustainability solutions, it is about just smarter choices overall, and we forget to actually reflect on where this brings us. But I do see a change in narrative right now, in the sense that typically we see portrayals of the future as going back. You know, we hear a lot about this, let's get inspired by indigenous people, let's get inspired by nature. But I think the reality, as far as I see when I travel around the world, is that it's probably a little bit more high-tech, it's probably a little bit more Stanley Kubrick, to be honest. And I think we need to get used to that reality, that we will see technology being much more immersed into our lives and obviously helping us change those behaviors we're so terribly bad at changing. And we even do see that, back to the terrible iPhone, right? But we do see how that is even built into technology today to help us use technology smarter, being more savvy around these things. So I think we also need, perception-wise, to think about how will we engage with robotics? How will we, you know, showering, for example. There's a Swedish shower startup called Loop. The amazing thing is that they circulate the water, they circulate the heat, so you don't actually have to do anything. You can enjoy a long shower. And so I think that is probably more true to what we will be seeing right now, without sounding like Elon Musk, a techno freak. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about balance, as you said. And even when we talk now about artificial intelligence, the intelligence, where does it start? And who is feeding this artificial intelligence? Hopefully still this intelligence, right? As long as we are feeding the artificial intelligence, it's great. But on the other hand, also to use the common sense, because I like to use very simple metaphor as well. If you use navigation in your phone and you ask, we will not name the brand, yeah? Where is the opera house in Bucharest? And I have no clue about Bucharest. And if I do the typo and it takes me somewhere else and I just follow, I will get lost because I trusted this technology. So I think it's very important that we still understand that this is a tool and that we use it as a tool not to replace our intelligence and our common sense as well as our emotions. So always with this technology, I would be in favor of being aware of positive and negative impact it can have.
What is one question that is not asked enough in your field?
I mean, I was going to say, I think because of the nascent stage of artificial intelligence, really truly understanding how it will influence our field, I think people are still trying to navigate and work that out. But I guess it ties into what you were saying. If we get to a point where artificial intelligence is, you know, superior to our intelligence, where's that balance between our inputs and what we're trusting, you know, them to do? And with nature, it's incredibly complex. I think there's a really interesting opportunity to use AI to help us predict how ecosystems will change with different inputs and to ultimately help us achieve much more positive outcomes for nature restoration on a shorter time frame, which is something we need to do.
There is one word, why.
Why?
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 Too often we forget to ask, why are we doing something? Why are we collecting the data? Why are we producing this thing? Why are we, you know? So I think that if we ask this question more often, then we will come to solutions that are really beneficial and contribute to our well-being, but to the well-being of everyone on this planet. Because even with the data, we can see there is so much data, but how is this data transformed into useful information? And we have space technology. We can see a lot of things, you know, but is it used for our better life? So that's why I'm very much in favor of why.
Besides obviously talking about growth, more seriously, I think where the other people in the room, I think we tend to be in this climate bubble, sustainability bubble. I was at New York Climate Week not too long ago, and we really need more people in the room, fundamentally. A lot of the campaigns I see unfortunately target the people who are already agreeing with us. Fairphone being targeted at folks who are climate fanatics already. So we need to have all those other people here. And I think for next year, it's thinking about who of your colleagues can you agree that aren't agreeing with you? Is it bringing the CFO, the CMO? How do we expand this conversation? And And also because it's a democratic exercise. By the end of the day, we need to be about inclusivity. We need to understand that because we know more, we have an obligation to bring others along on the journey. If I'm good at math, I'm not bullying those who don't understand math. And I think that's unfortunately happening right now in the climate movement. And that reminded me of a very beautiful poster I saw the other day in Copenhagen from the municipality of Copenhagen. They put up this poster, official poster that said, "It's okay to disagree." And I actually love that as a little reflection that sometimes, we're going to value that we aren't agreeing on the way forward, but that is the fundamental principles of democracy.
Yeah. What is one action that you believe anyone can start doing tomorrow that would contribute to the work that you all are doing?
So I already mentioned today that there are more versions of capital, right? But if we just choose 3 of them like this, financial capital, human capital, and natural capital, so I would be very much in favor of that we are aware of the asset we have in natural and human capital. So if we would wake up one day and we would say, okay, financial capital is there just to support that, that would really, really impact our decisions on the daily level. So that is maybe a wishful thinking, but yeah, I would be in favor of that because then we start rolling in the different direction.
I was going to say, linked to that, it's make your money matter. So it's who do you bank with? Do they align with your values? If you have a pension, where's it invested? Is it invested in the types of companies that you want to be supporting? And I think switching to those providers that align with your interests and the things you care about can make a big difference.
Yeah, I think we have so many people watching online and in the room today with so diverse backgrounds. And I feel, even when I look at my own story, working in advertising at a traditional agency and then taking the decision to step out and do something different. And when I travel across the world, I hear so many stories, whether it's children or whatever, that inspired people to make that change. And I think as citizens and as professionals, we need to rise up to that challenge and talk about that wrongdoing. And I think, as I said again, because we have all the knowledge, we have more responsibility to share, to push, to be vocal about it, because ultimately I fundamentally believe we are the majority of people on this planet democratically who want a peaceful planet, renewable, with a secure food system. So it should be a really, really easy future to sell.
We have about 3 minutes, so that gives me plenty of time to do something that is very classical to the social innovation solutions debates, which is I'm going to ask each of you to pick one of the others and ask a question, because I'm not that good. So pick one of the 2 and ask a question, and the other way.
What is the future of advertising going to look like in 20, 30 years' time?
That was a good question, not to degrade, you're right. I hope that we will see a merger of science, knowledge, transparency, and communication in a much better way than it's being done today. I think advertising has had its 2 loose times, so it needs to be steered. The beast needs to be tamed. It's one of the biggest psychological experiments ever carried out on human mankind, so I think it needs to be. We need to use this one and ask ourselves, what do we need advertising for? When a regular kid can name 500 brands, maybe it's time to ask ourselves what we can use advertising for the better.
Okay, I will go. Yeah, it will be more personal. Being a change maker is sometimes very lonesome. So my question to you is very personal. When you are down, what you do? So that you continue doing what you do.
So I have a little side project where I go and I meet with people who are restoring nature in the UK. I've got a YouTube channel, Wilding Earth, if anyone wants to check it out. And yeah, for me, it's like a hobby, and that's a great if I need some extra hope or a boost of, you know, going and seeing people, and I get to spend half a day with them, they give me a personal tour of their amazing nature restoration projects or rewilding projects, and I get to learn from them one-on-one, and meet and hang out with amazing people. And so, like, that gives me the injection and the boost of
To keep on going.
If you know, and I'm lucky I don't really have too many moments. You know, surrounding myself with the hopeful stuff that's happening in our space really helps keep me positive and motivate me moving forward.
Thank you.
I already look forward to checking out that channel. I have one question for you, since we talked about future and everything. I think in the sustainability movement, within circularity, etc., we tend to talk about these quite big words and how do we unpack them. So if we do fast forward 10 years from now, how would your perfect circular life look like? Just if we do like a little circular morning, how is that unfolding?
So I would say there is no perfection. You know, we should not aim for something perfect. And I would say simplicity is what counts. So for me, as well as today, as in the future, there is no big difference in that, what I value, and what makes me feel good and what makes me feel purposeful. But what I would advise, because you inspired me very much, is also it's about leadership. We say someone should start with something. This is great because that is how an idea is introduced. But if we want the movement, and also circular economy movement, we need the follower. And since you are barefoot, so I will be your first follower. I will take off my shoes. And I think if we do that, then we are on the right side.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but nevertheless, I'll do it later. Let's give a big round of applause with your hands or feet, however you want. This is a great photo op, so if we have a photographer here. Yeah. This was the last panel of today, but let's thank again but not with applause, but with a promise to yourselves that you will try to do just a bit more. As we all, I think, should every now and then. And I'll welcome Sonia back on stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.